Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Today, my guest is Ryan Thomas. He's the owner of Cumbria Combat Sports, an MMA coach, and co-founder of Peak Performance Coaching and the Peak Performance podcast. Ryan tells me his 5 essential exercises he would do if he were stranded on a desert island, what makes a good coach, data-driven approaches to sports programming. We also delve into Ryan's journey with combat sports, what it takes to be a fighter. Could anyone be an MMA fighter? Resilience and the risks of traumatic brain injuries, also known as CTE. If you're like me and you geek out on all things training and programming, then you're going to like this one. So I hope you enjoy my conversation with Ryan Thomas. So Ryan, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me on, mate. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. I thought we'd start by you talking me through sort of your typical week, as I know you're involved in plenty of different things.
Yeah, I am at the minute. Yeah, it's a bit crazy. My life's a bit mad. So currently, when I'm at home, when I'm not offshore working, my working week looks like training myself every day, sometimes twice a day. Because obviously when I'm at home, I'm not actually working at home. As far as wind goes. So I'm currently obviously head coach at Cumbria Combat Sports. We've got a solid group of fighters there now. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I am there from 7 o'clock at night. And then Tuesday, Thursday, it's like a day where I'll do like one-to-one training with a few of the fighters. I also coach a few athletes one-to-one, like sort of bespoke programming for my strength and conditioning. And then all my other time is pretty much just taken up with Peak at the minute, which is growing arms and legs pretty rapidly. So yeah, I'm pretty busy at the minute. And then once that's done, my time at home's done, I'm back to work for 4 weeks. And still continuing to do all my work, but just remotely. So yeah, I'm busy, you could say, at the minute.
Nice. So what's the, you said the strength and conditioning stuff, is that part of Peak or is that separate?
Yeah, so it is part of Peak. So it's sort of like it's called the Peak Elite. So basically, we take one-to-one athletes, looking to enhance. It's more of a spoke, tailored towards the individual sort of program as opposed to the sort of group program monthly intakes that we do under the Peak program banner. So it's sort of more tailored and bespoke to the individual for whatever sport or whatever competition you've got coming up or stuff like that.
Right. Cool. And what sort of athletes do you tend to coach? Obviously, mixed martial arts, but what else? And
So predominantly fighters at the minute. And I've been working closely with Will Stanway, who's had a pretty meteoric rise from amateur football into like the semi-pro ranks.
Right.
He's a goalkeeper. So I've been working closely with Will. He reached out to me at the end of last year. If I could start working with him, so it's been really good to work with him. It's a sport that I've had to delve into and sort of understand a bit more of the demands of that. So I'm looking to branch out, but again, because my time is limited, I'm sort of only taking on a very few limited one-to-one clients just because time is a luxury at the minute and I don't really have that much of it. So I don't want to wear myself too thin. I want to be able to give them the best experience possible, if I'm honest.
Right. Right, awesome. Is he that plays for Morecambe?
Chester now.
Chester.
He might have been at Morecambe. I don't know.
I don't know where that just came into my head, Morecambe, for some reason. I must have seen it on someone's story.
I think 2 years ago he was playing centre back for Holker Old Boys.
Right.
And now he's playing Chester. First team goalkeeper is a ridiculous amount of clean sheets this year.
Yeah.
And then this year he will be signing professional, so League One or League Two. Rise to be decided in the summer, but yeah, he's had a mad rise, to be honest.
Yeah.
Which has been good to see.
That's awesome.
I'm glad to be a part of it, to be honest.
And like, when you take a look at like conditioning, like how do those How does that programming differ? Like, what are the sort of core principles that tend to change? Because obviously you've got like the meta and then like the micro. Like, how do those things interact?
So that's something that's been like a bit of a learning curve for myself. As opposed to Will obviously being a seasoned athlete, so his training has got to change when he's in season than he is out of season. So as opposed to a fighter where we know a set date for a competition coming up, it makes sense for us to be able to plan that program out with like 12 weeks, and I can program the conditioning from there and the strength training. Whereas with Will, we've been sort of managing the load weekly because he's having that much game, so it's managing the load around his games, which are obviously the most important, and to not impact his skill sessions. So it's because his schedule's been changing so much, we've had to change it on the fly, like week by week. So basically, it's just fatigue, not to induce any fatigue, load management, and then really prepping his sessions with plenty of recovery before game time. So yeah, it's been a new learning curve, but it's something I've really enjoyed as well. It's a lot different to coaching fighters because, like I say, you've got a set date. That's the date you're fighting, and you can just program it nice and smooth from there on out. Whereas Will's and the level that he's playing at, he's been playing 3 games a week at some points. So
Wow.
sometimes to get any proper S&C in, it's been quite hard. But he's been willing to do it. He's been trying to get it in as much as he can. And yeah, from my side, it's been interesting to see how he manages it as well, as he's quite new to S&C, to be honest. So he's getting all them new athlete sort of gains and adaptations, which is good for me to see. And I'm getting some really good data and feedback from him for me to use and go into it with other footballers and other in-season athletes and season athletes like rugby players. So yeah, it's been good.
That's awesome. How old is he?
I think he is 22 or 23,
Right.
maybe 23. Like I say, he's only really young, especially in terms of a goalkeeper. In
I was
fact,
going to say goalkeepers tend to peak a bit later as well, don't they?
exactly, yeah. But the size of the lad is like he's ridiculous. He's gonna be some athlete. Like if he keeps progressing at the rate he has done, he's gonna go far. I think.
That's amazing. So, what do you think makes a good coach?
That's a tricky question. I had a similar conversation with Liam Conroy on the Beat podcast that we did, and I sort of asked his take on it. But for me personally, it's let's be honest. There's so much information out there on the internet that the average person can go and find out what they need to do for any given sport or learn a technique. But for me, the what makes a good coach in my eyes is someone who can change their approach up based on the individual, because people respond to different ways of coaching. Some need a pat on the back, some need a shout at telling off, some need an arm around them at certain times. But for me, it's being able to break down the message, the instruction, but doing it in a way that's simplified, and you can put that over to your athlete, fighter, whoever it may be, and they can understand it in a dumbed down version, but something that's relatable to them. The best coaches I've ever worked with have used great analogies and great methods and similarities to other things, and that's what stuck with me, and that's sort of the way I'm envisioning how my team's going to look and my fight team's going to look, and how I'm trying to push stuff onto them is like a lot more concept based, but listening to them at the same time, and getting feedback from them at how my coaching style is developing. So I'd have to say someone who is approachable, open to change, open to new ideas, and a massive one for me is open up to other coaches coming in and training your athletes alongside you or when you're not there, and not being worried about my own ego, as I don't have all the answers and I never will, and I don't think anyone does. But to be able to say, right, I've sort of taught you all I can give you at this moment in time. Maybe it's time for a fresh approach. Maybe we get a Muay Thai coach in, which is something I've done at Cumbria Combat, or maybe we get a boxing coach to work with, which is again something I've done at Cumbria Combat. And don't get me wrong, I've lost a few guys to boxing gyms because I've sort of introduced them to boxing. That's not introduced them to boxing, but we've started them out with a bit of my gym, and that's fine. Because again, what is most important, which is I think what most coaches in our area in terms of like boxing and martial arts is sometimes they can be a bit sort of worried about the impact it's going to have on the coach rather than the person. So I feel like I'm putting my athletes and I'm putting my fighters first, and if that means them go to train at another gym for 3 times a week, if that's what's going to make them progress the fastest, and then that's what it takes. And I'll take a back seat and watch from afar. And I feel like since I took that approach, what it's made me a better coach, it's opened me up to the minds of other good coaches. I've soaked up so much more knowledge, quite selfishly as well. Like I'm using it to my advantage, and I've listened to what they need. If they need something, I'll try and find the answers. I'll try and come up with it. But it's having the willingness to be like, right, I don't have all the answers here. Let's go and see so and so. Let's go to this gym, or let's look into this type of training for you and source someone that can do it. So yeah, I feel like it's being that dropping the ego, I think.
Yeah, not coming from like a place of scarcity and realizing that there's so much more. Like there's plenty to go around, isn't there? And I think
100%, and it's
when people work together, then you can create something special. You get quite nice ecosystems out of that sort of like little bit of competition around
100%.
your people within your industry.
And they can see that loyalty to you. Like if people are going to leave, they're going to leave. But if you give people the option to go out and find something for themselves, or you point them in the direction, people stay with you because you give them that sort of freedom. Like,
so, when did you first get involved in combat sports?
So this is a good question as well. So my journey started when I was 20 years old. So it was 10 years ago. And it started with Muay Thai, with a guy called Lou Bailey, who I'm still in touch with and still good friends with now. He runs the university club in Leeds, Muay Thai team, and he started teaching Muay Thai at Furness College when I was 20. So I'd been bored of going to the gym, just doing the same old stuff. I went to the gym, but I forced myself to go. I was never really in love with it. When I started doing Muay Thai, had no interest in training MMA or getting into any other combat sport. I don't know why I never went to a boxing gym. In hindsight, I probably should have done that sooner, but I never really went to any boxing gyms around here. But anyway, yeah, started Muay Thai, and unfortunately, after a few months, it might have been about 8-9 months, Lou Bailey moved to uni to go to Leeds to study physiotherapy. So I was sort of lost and was like, right, well, what do I do now? I want to carry on kickboxing. So I then joined Barra MMA at the time, as they were sort of training in the same building that we were. And I think Ash McCracken had just started as well. So I started training there and sort of tried to learn grappling, but it wasn't really known for grappling in Barrow then. It was just sort of little bits that we'd been showing off people. And then from there, I was like, right, if I'm going to try and do this, I need to go to the closest, best jiu-jitsu gym and just travel. And so I started going up to Kendal a couple of times a week. And yeah, really started falling in love with jiu-jitsu, the grappling side of things. And
were you going up there with Mike at the time?
So Mike had already been going for a while.
I did.
Mike Race. Yeah, he'd already been up there. I think Mike was a blue belt when I first started with him.
Right.
And then Barrow MMA moved to a new facility, its own spot, and I sort of tapped Mike up to come and teach down at Barrow MMA. Again, just so we could have that sort of longevity of good training, and like we knew where we were at in Barrow. And he started teaching as a blue belt, believe it or not. Now, yeah, from then on, Barrow MMA sort of fizzled out, and then Mike opened Lobo at our old premises. Well, we were still in there at Barrow MMA actually.
All right.
And he formed Lobo, yeah. So, and then I was just continually training with Mike.
Yeah.
From then on out, and yeah, I was loving jiu-jitsu. Got good in certain aspects pretty quick. And then yeah, I was carrying on training MMA, and then I had a couple of MMA fights. I think I had my first one in 2017, and yeah, I won that one, and my second one shortly after, and I won that one, both by submission.
Nice.
So that's props to Mike. So, how good of a coach he is, and me sort of pick it up, and I loved it.
What sort of subs did you do?
Rear naked chokes. All my submissions have been rear naked. Oh no, that's a lie. I've had 2 guillotines actually.
Nice.
Yeah, my first 2 were rear naked chokes. So yeah, Mike was pretty happy about that when I got them. So because like I say, I've been training with him for quite a while at that time.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
From there, I then went on to Barrow MMA Folded, and then I started training up at Shea Walsh's MMA in Lancaster, travelling there 2-3 times a week. Until then, I become injured, and yeah, a lot of things changed along the way. But that's sort of how I got started and what kick-started the love for combat sports, if I'm honest.
What was your injury?
So I first did my shoulder, torn it playing rugby when I was about 18. And then from then on, with issues with training with jiu-jitsu and wrestling, I tore my right shoulder, and then my left one again, and then my right one again. So I've been pretty unlucky in that realm, to be honest. Got 2 pretty jacked up shoulders, and I'm only 30, so that's sort of why it took a back seat for me at the minute.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal. It's pretty brutal. I've never. The only thing I've ever done is I went down to Lobo for a few months, and
Yeah,
I actually I loved it. And I was like, oh, I found my thing. Like, where's this been all my life?
yeah,
And like, because I'd never been in, I'd never done rugby. I've always been like a bit of a soft lad, and
yeah,
that kind of, like that sort of primal sort of thing that it brings out in you, of
yeah.
like
It
just
does.
like another bloke like on top of you, and you can't breathe, and like, but it's strangely freeing at the same time.
Yeah, it is. It's like therapy, I think.
Yeah,
It is when there's not wrong you've done it.
yeah, and it was amazing. And do you know? I think it was the last time I was there. I'd nearly got uh my first submission, and what was it? Was it like a triangle choke? And
Ah, okay.
it must have been the way I was pulling my leg. Long story short, but I ended up tearing my meniscus.
Oh, you're joking.
Yeah, and
That ain't good.
so I was like laid up for a good while, and they decided not to operate, and then it was just a case of just rehabbing, and that's kind of where he ended up. Ended up taking like the strength side more important, because I've done a lot of running and stuff earlier, like in my life, and yeah, so I started building my knee back up, and then ended up meeting Matty Green, going there, and then getting into High Rocks. So
Yeah,
like I've always kind of got that like jiu-jitsu is like the one that got away.
yeah.
And it's
It's a
like,
really good sport.
yeah, I'm like, can I come back from that? Like knees over toes. Can I do enough knees over toes to go back and do some jiu-jitsu? But
I think you probably could. I think jiu-jitsu is one of the only things that's very scalable in terms of your training. For example, again, picking your training partners, easing yourself back into it, really going with people that you trust, not going with people that are going to explode out of things, knowing your body, building yourself up to being able to move in them positions again without the fear of hurting it. Like I say, I've been there numerous times, so I know exactly how you feel, but it is just sort of exposing yourself to it gradually and then building it up, and then, like I say, meniscus should be able to do it, but again, it's the fear of it happening again. So I totally understand your hesitation to go back, but if you want my advice, I'd definitely say give it another go, 100%.
yeah, I think the good thing about jiu-jitsu, from what I can tell, is people come to it really late in life and can
Yeah,
train quite into the later years, can't they?
yeah, 100%.
So that's why I'm not stressing too. I'm kind of like, I know it's going to be there,
Yeah, 100%. You've got it there on the back burner if you need to take it up again. And again, you can do it later in life because unless you go to a gym where people are trying to kill each other constantly, if you go to a good gym like Lobo, if you start at 45, the young kids that are really good high level are not going to be blasting and try to hurt you and try to rack on subs like they would against each other.
Yeah.
Because you've got good training partners, people look after each other, and I think that's the way it should be. And it's very scalable to how you are as an individual as well. Obviously, it's hard, it's physically exerting, but it's good in a sense that you can sort of, if something's not feeling right and someone's sort of putting a submission on, you just tap early. I know you don't always have that luxury because we explode our movements and you go into scrambles and injuries can happen when you're exploding and moving too quickly. But again, starting off dipping your toe back in is quite scalable, but just pick your training partners. That's all I'd say.
Yeah. And interesting enough, I found as well because I did like the intro class. The intro class, the people who go to the intro are like more like brutal than like the general class because they don't know what they're doing and they're just lugging the weight around. It's like the ones who don't know what they're doing are like more violent.
100%. And I feel like that's with when you first go to jiu-jitsu, everyone's got this ego. People that don't say everyone has an ego, 100%.
Sure.
No one wants to get beat. So people think when you go to jiu-jitsu, it's all about strength and holding and being powerful. And again, it has its place in jiu-jitsu and size and strength does matter, but it's applying it in an efficient way. You notice all the people at the beginners course, and when they first start, they do that for a minute and they're absolutely gassed.
Yeah.
You can't hold it. So I feel like when people have been coming a long time after them 6 months and you start being a nail and you start getting submitted and you start to relax yourself and then you start to be a better training partner, and when you start to relax, stuff comes easier and you see submissions more, and it's very, no one gets rid of their ego, but once you can accept that you're going to get beat in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Because all beginners do. They don't try and win. They try not to lose. I think there's a big difference. And that's why people get hurt, in my eyes. No one wants to lose, so they're all very stiff and tense, but no one's trying to relax enough to win, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's just the way I look at it.
Yeah, that's true of so many things in life as well. It's like just taking that 10-20% off, like if that makes sense. Like when you go in like 100%, like it's a bit too much. That could be ways like in business or thinking about certain things, or when you're like racing for an event, it's like actually sometimes just dialing it back and relaxing in.
Yeah.
You can,
100%.
you get more efficient, don't you?
I feel like that is what it is. It's just energy management and being efficient. I know when people are trying so hard not to lose or trying so hard not for one outcome, they forget about why they're actually doing it. And essentially that is to win in whatever you do, if it's business, kickboxing, boxing, MMA, whatever. They're too reserved and they're doing everything in their power not to win. And they become tense, they become stiff, they get tired. And that happened in my last MMA fight. I was petrified of losing. And I did everything I could not to get knocked out. Tried rushing takedowns. Ended up gassing the second round because I'd been forcing the wrestling exchanges too much. Adrenaline dump and I got submitted. And it's like, but I was never fighting to win. I just didn't want to get beat. I think there's a big difference. And I see it in the gym, you see it in business. People are so scared of relaxing but taking risks, and do you know what I mean? Not taking silly risks, but being relaxed enough to see there's a pathway through it. Whether it's, like you say, business.
Yeah, I love that.
Whatever sport it is, you do it. It's just the way you've got to deal with stuff and take a back seat a bit and just like breathe and process what's going on. And then you can think with a clear head.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I love how like martial arts, especially in sports, sort of map onto life. And
100%.
yeah, and all these concepts, like it all seems the same, like once you start to see it. You can just sometimes you
I
just
think
need to like take a like 1,000-foot view and be like, oh yeah, these things are all the same. It's just about
I think that's why people they're so relatable to everyone as well. When you start a martial art, you realise the teachings that it gives you sort of outside. Well, not to sound very cliche, but the teachings it gives you outside of the martial art. Do you understand what I mean? It is definitely applicable to how you live your life, the things, how you conduct yourself, how you carry yourself, how you do business, how you speak to people, how you get spoken to. It teaches you a lot. 100% it does, and it stems into everything that you do. Or I found it. I've 100% it's helped me.
yeah, that's cool, man. So do you think do you think anyone can be a fighter?
No, I think anyone can be an athlete
Yeah.
in terms of training to be an athlete. People have genetic gifts, but define what you mean by fighter, and I'll answer the question a bit more thoroughly because I feel like being a fighter, I feel like it is something you're born with, like that grit,
Yes.
that. But I definitely think it is something that can be hardened over time with
Yeah, I
more
think
exposure to it.
how did I mean? Like, I suppose as someone who has never been a fighter and never had that sort of aggressive nature in terms of, I was never getting into scraps or whatever, and if I was fucking running away. But and it's like, yeah, and also like I wasn't really into sport. Uh,
Yeah,
I found music. Music became my way of like showing off the girls or expressing my masculinity through like a guitar
yeah,
and that happens quite a lot, doesn't it? You have like the sporty ones, then you have the other ones that go off and find like music or something. And so I come to like sport and certainly like hybrid training quite late in life. And
yeah.
I've gone, I'm actually quite good at this. Like when, so for the last 7 or 8 months, like I've been like balls to the wall, high rocks, 6 days a week with migraine. And it's been such an amazing period in my life of just been like really leaning into my extremeness, which has
Yeah,
that extreme personality has come out in lots of negative ways when I was younger, through, alcohol and things like that. So I don't drink anymore. And so I'm like, oh, I could just like really lean into this, like being healthy and like treat myself like an athlete. And um, so yeah, a bit of a tangent there, but it was like, so
no,
I've sort of believed in myself, like, oh fucking hell, so maybe I do have a bit of that, or like maybe I could have been good if I was younger. I certainly, but obviously, and
I
then the
think, I
combat
think,
sport thing, it's like if you've never done it, you've always got that thing in your like, do you think
but
do you
you
think I
never
could do
know
it?
if you're going to be good at it until you try it.
Yeah,
Until you try it, it's one of the things like everyone needs to get punched in the face once to see how it feels. And when you're doing that in a competitive environment and you realise you're not made of glass, that's when you're like, okay, this is something I could do. Again, I do think I've met some people that have just got that fire in the belly, like Ash McCracken, for example, one of the happiest, smiliest kids you'll ever meet.
I know
But he's
Ash.
got this
Yeah,
dog in him that, Ash, dear,
yeah,
he's got
it's
a dog in him, Ash, that he cannot be beat.
yeah. So his sister is my best mate's wife.
Ah, great.
So
Well,
do you know Shay?
yes, I know of him.
Yeah, yeah. So, anyways, continue.
Yeah, Ash is, one of them. And don't get me wrong, I feel like you can build that sort of fighter in you,
Mm,
in terms of not when it gets hard and when it gets dark, you've got to quit. And I hold my hands up.
mm,
I quit when it got hard. In my last fight, I quit. And it fucking haunts me to this day that I quit.
mm,
And Ash has quit before in fights.
mm.
People quit all the time. I feel like the more exposed you get to that over time, you definitely become more resilient and you can start to deal with it. It's not something that's a write-off, like you're either a fighter or you're not. I don't think it's that.
Mm.
I don't think everyone could do it. But that's not to say that they're not a fighter in other ways of life.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like you might not want to get punched in the face because you might not like it. No one likes it really, but there's definitely terms of fighting, in terms of staying ahead, keeping your head above your floor if you've suffered with mental health all your life, or doing a job you fucking hate to put food on the table for your family. To me, that's just as impressive as someone going in a ring and getting knocked the fuck out of and thinking, yeah, I waded through that. Like, yeah, great. But there's like sort of people that really do fight on a daily basis that have got that deep grit inside them that probably would transfer to fighting, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say, it probably would transfer, but they never get that exposure to it. Because people fight every day, don't they, doing other stuff. So
yeah,
I think to answer your question, yeah.
It's like, I suppose, yeah, thinking about it now, yeah, all the good fighters are a little bit mental. Like Sean Strickland, you know, is a good example, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a mad guy.
Um,
I listened to a good quote about George St. Pierre once, and he's so honest on all of his interviews. And he says he used to hate fighting. He hated it. He hated every minute of fighting. For consensus in mind, probably the best mixed martial artist after John Jones ever. Hated fighting, but he loved being a martial artist. So he did it anyway because it was part of him being a martial artist, but he did not enjoy it. He was a model athlete. And I think there's a difference at the highest level. And he's openly admitted it. He was a fighter. He had grit. We didn't enjoy it. He wasn't a Sean Strickland, if you know what I mean.
yeah,
He wasn't a Justin Gaethje.
yeah,
Do you understand what I'm saying?
yeah. It's like, it's all about like, yeah, the process, being a technician.
It's just like an accessory to what you do.
Yeah, and it reminds me a little bit. I know I keep bringing it back to High Rocks, but I did a few competitions, and although it was great, I kind of like, I was like, I think I prefer the training than the events, because it's so much pressure and so much adrenaline, and like, and that's a bit of a buzz. But of course, you know, and I cannot imagine what it must be like coming down from a fight. Certainly, if you've won, because like, after High Rocks, like 3-4 days after High Rocks, I'm just like dead. It's like I've been on the sesh.
Yeah, 100%. It's exciting, doesn't it? Well, I can imagine I haven't done one, but
Yeah, it's insane. And I'm like, and the last time I did one, I thought, oh, I'll be all right, you know, I'll eat well and all the rest of it. Nope, same thing happened. It's just, yeah, and I always think about like MMA and boxers, and I think, wow, like that must be amazing, like winning that bout, winning that fight, and then, but imagine the next day, just like, certainly if you went out on the rise as well.
come down to grading it from a big high like that. And I can only speak to this very, very small time, the very small scale I did it, and the few times that I did fight. But the nerves I felt, Christ, were horrendous.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it puts people off when you're in there and it's in there. I think the more you expose yourself, just like anything, you build up that tolerance and you harden to it. It never goes away, but it made me at times like, fuck, it's horrible. It's like, I did it because I did it. And I love the process. I love getting ready for a fight. I love the accountability. I love the discipline. I love actually being in there. But the week before it, I hated it with a passion. I'd still do it again, but I don't understand how like operators at the highest level can go into a fight and perform to their absolute best in front of millions of people on any stage, whether it be in a boxer, UFC fighter, Tiger Woods. Do you know what I mean? Michael Jordan, when he needs to, just people like that can just, when they need to, when all eyes are watching them, they can just perform at the best. And that's what I think separates people from doing it. There's people that perform in the gym or on the court or at home when they're working out, but when the lights are on them, they fail. But the best are when they come up and he can perform no matter the situation, and they're the people that I try and like look at and see what makes them like that. But no one knows. I don't think it's just, is it bred into you?
Yeah.
Are you born like that? I don't know, but it's impressive to watch.
And of course, you see that's like obviously in the last like maybe 10 years or something, like the way you see like footballers has totally changed, and they don't get involved in, because obviously so much of the sports science psychology and that's come on, hasn't it? So they're just like, just the next game. Are you thinking about the league? I think and they're like, nope.
Just the next game.
Yeah, and that's so true, isn't it? And you can imagine, like, if if you've done any sort of sports yourself or competed at any sort of level, can you imagine being amped up after every game? Like, you just wouldn't be able to do it.
It'd be draining so bad. But it either breeds complacency or it breeds panic, I think. And like if I had training for a fight, I'd be like, right, just do this day. If I thought about the next 8 weeks, it was panic setting. Like, fuck, I'm going to train so hard. I've got all this stuff to do. When you watch The Last Dance and Michael Jordan goes on about, like, he treats it game by game, because he don't let himself get excited because they get overwhelmed at the thought of winning it, or they panic because they want to win it and the nerves set in and they get anxious. It's like every day, take it as it comes. Every game, take it as it comes, and just focus on that one and then the next one. And it's the same when you practice there. I can imagine it's when you say for high rocks, you've got all this work to do. You've got all these workouts coming up and you think, fucking hell, it's going to be hard. But just, again, micromanage it and just do it day by day. And I reckon that's all the top performers do it.
Yeah. Yeah, just little chunks. And obviously that's the benefit of being on a program as well, because you don't have that sort of like neural cost of like try to program yourself and am I doing this right? You know, it's quite nice to outsource that mental cost.
Yeah. I think like when I worked for Matty, when I was doing my S&C for the fighting, I'd get my workouts weekly, so I couldn't see 2 or 3 weeks in advance, so I couldn't look. Do you understand what I mean? And I love that. We do it now with people on peak, so we can only show like 3 weeks. And I've been told this by like a mentor that we have, if you give people 12 weeks worth of training when they first start, I'm going to shit themselves, scroll right to the 12th week and think, I can't do that.
Yeah.
So it's something he's told me that I've learned, and it applies to so much stuff. It applies to all sorts.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to run a marathon, you think, fucking hell, I can't run a marathon. But if you do all the training day by day, over 12 weeks or however long it is you're training for it, it'll come around, you'll do it, and you won't feel overwhelmed because you build up that tolerance and volume that you need to do it. But again, it's managing it, and I think I'm guilty of it as well. Like, I really can't. I struggle sometimes. I get too fixated on what the outcome is rather than just doing what's in the moment. It probably has its pros and cons doing it like that, but I can totally relate to you when you say you don't like the competition side of it, and it's just the training that you like.
Yeah, there's something about, I mean, don't get me wrong, I do like the competition, but it feels so I think, like, as someone who like gets addicted to stuff, I'm wary of those big stimuluses. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
it's just I like the sort of like just every day, just kind of like that discipline.
Yeah, the grind.
Yeah, there's something about like, and obviously it's personality types, isn't it? I think there's something awesome about training, which is like you can control it. It's not like a relationship where there's like so many different variables. You're just like, oh, like if I do that more times and increase the load over time, then I'll get better at it. Right, awesome.
Yeah, just keep on,
Yeah, exactly.
I say that to my fighters a lot of the time. I was like, especially the amateurs, I'm like, the important bit is you showing up in the gym every week. Like, the whole reason me and Ash do what we do is not because of the fighting. It's because we love the journey that we're on every day, learning new stuff, getting better. Like, the way Ash has transformed as a person over the last 2 years has been unreal to see, because he just thoroughly enjoyed the process. And by doing that, his results have been so much better. He's won, like, he's lost one fight at semi-pro K1, which he's gone into them, and it was a flash knockout, but his attitude of training, his mindset, when he just stripped back all the pressure of winning and just focused on why he was doing it and treated fighting as just an end goal of something that he gets to do, and training is something that he has to do and he loves it, then he started winning.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I mean? It's like, it's had a reverse role on it. It's been great because he was so panicky about winning, didn't want to lose. When he sort of ridded himself of that burden, he has now started winning. So I feel like, for me, there's my sort of case study in saying it works, because it's definitely worked for him.
Did has Ash lost?
Okay, so Ash he had 10 MMA fights and he won 3 and he lost 7.
Right.
So he was, but to his due, Ash fought the best of the best in UK amateur MMA, and pretty much all of the people he fought have now gone on to be top pros on Cage Warriors or in the UFC. Wow. So Ash never fought anyone shit. He never turned down a fight, and he's got the biggest bollocks of probably anyone I met. But he was probably not ready to fight them people when he did.
Right.
He wasn't technically there. His training wasn't in the right spot. We would travel. It just wasn't right, but he still did it anyway. And the experience that has given him, now going into pro kickboxing, it's been massive. And now he's just rid himself of that burden. He's a different guy. Do you know what I mean?
That's what's cool about like MMA, like compared to boxing, because like it's normal to lose. Whereas, like, and I don't know an awful lot about boxing or MMA really, but I do follow it a little bit. But like, yeah, like it was almost like if you've lost, then it meant that you were shit, which is crazy.
It is crazy, isn't it? To even think that's a comment that people can make. But I think boxing can learn a lot from MMA in that sense, because there's so many ways to lose in MMA. Do you understand what I mean? There's so many outcomes, and everyone's getting better. It's just a huge, rapidly developing sport, and on losses that you're not written off. So people take more risks, people take fights, and they make exciting fights, whereas people aren't cagey and they avoid people and there's no politics. So yeah. But again, Ash's record when he got beat was he was an amateur. So if you're ever going to go pro MMA, it means nothing anyway. That gets wiped clean. But I don't think he's going to go back down that road. Maybe never say never, but I think he's found his own where he's at the minute.
Yeah. Cool. So, what are your thoughts on the whole TBI risk?
Sorry, say that again.
TBI, traumatic brain injury.
From MMA?
Yeah, just in general. You know, like I heard that there's, you know, some people can get tested for a certain gene type, which means you're more likely to, less or more likely to develop a neurological condition. Just wondered if you had any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I do, to be honest. And it's something we've adopted in the gym to sort of negate any issues happening. But I feel like you go back to looking at boxing before MMA was around, boxers, when they're in camp, probably spar 2 to 3 times a week. Hard sparring. Hard sparring. Professionals, even amateurs, spar really hard. And they're having some of the best rounds in the gym. They're doing that multiple times a week, multiple times a fight camp, multiple fight camps in their career. Then they've got the fight. And when sort of head guards got proven not to do a great deal apart from stop cuts, it's sort of what boxing up a bit and thought, Christ, like this is a massive, and obviously you see like renowned boxers, Muhammad Ali, Freddie Roach get Parkinson's and might really be traumatic injuries and issues potentially caused by brain injuries. That then when MMA come along, obviously there was a lot of hard sparring at the start, and a lot of gyms were just relentless, like Shooter Box in Brazil, like they were renowned for being like heavy sparrers. But a lot of MMA gyms I've been in, again, it's because of the smaller gloves. they spar a lot lighter. They sort of take the Muay Thai approach of playful, technical sparring. And I feel like for the sport to carry on and to not get such a bad rep like the NFL did with not protecting their athletes and them getting concussions and CT and all this stuff, that's been sort of more a widely adopted approach because, again, MMA sparring hard, you can get a head kick even with a shin pad on. It'll knock you clean out, and not to mention the amount of breaks and tears your body can get. So just from the simple fact of the amount of injury risk you've got in MMA, they've sort of dialed it right back down. Don't get me wrong, there is a time for hard sparring, but to limit it. And we haven't really seen it in MMA because in regards to MMA and boxing, if you get knocked down in MMA and you're dazed, you get jumped on. If it's a good referee, you'll get stopped within good time and you might land 3 or 4 on the ground. Whereas you look at, let me use an example, Joshua Klitschko. And Klitschko got knocked down, like, I think it was 3 times. I might be wrong, but that would not happen in boxing. Essentially, he got knocked out 3 times. He gets pulled back up, gets a count, and then he's got to go back in. Christ knows what that does to your brain. So I feel like that's why MMA hasn't had the amount of issues with brain injuries yet. But again, it's only in its infancy. So it's definitely something to be monitored, I think, by just controlled sparring, good training partners, good coaches, and managing your training. And you need to fight. But
you're talking about sort of the Muay Thai method, and is that like? Am I right in thinking it's literally like tapping them, but really fast?
Pretty much, yeah. And the drill, you spar and drill. They drill hard, you hit pads really hard. But in Thailand, they fight every week. Potentially, it's their way to make money. It's how they earn a living. So they can't sparring hard in the gym because they're fighting so often.
Yeah,
so they're getting exposure to the fighting game a lot. But you think, well, they fight that often, will they not get injured more often? But really, they don't. They have like 300 fights in a career. They start fighting at like 8. Granted, they retire at 30. But it's one of them where they know how to manage it in the gym, and the training partners not try to kill each other. Don't get me wrong, they will spar hard sometimes. They've got to, because it won't be as common as it is in boxing. But I think even now boxing, with all the press around CTE and these traumatic brain injuries, I feel like that's adopting a sort of a smarter approach to it. I think it needs to, because it's just too dangerous, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's coming into like football, everything, isn't it?
Yeah, because it's so common. It needs to be more awareness around it as well, and it's good that they're highlighting it. So it'd be interesting to see what changes they make, if any, to boxing going forward, or the UFC.
Yeah, sure. We connected online because I was interested in your VO2 max stuff.
Yes, yeah.
Tell me about that. Like, how's that going? What is a sensible approach to integrating something like VO2 max testing into your plan?
Yeah. So, it's going good. So, this was actually an idea I had before starting peak for the metabolic testing. I actually pitched this idea to Luke as I was just starting out on my own. I was going to go on my own S&C. I pitched the idea to Luke, and I'm like, yeah, it sounds great. Let's do that. Let's get involved. In the meantime, we got talking more, and Peak was born, and then the program was born, and it sort of got put on the back burner for a bit. But I wanted to offer somewhere in Barrow that really had data-driven programming and data-driven training for athletes. We've got a huge community here of high rocks athletes, rugby players, footballers, cyclists, triathletes, runners. And there's only Kendall, but I think they do limited dates. So I thought, well, we want to bring it to Barrow. And I feel like a lot of people are into the data now, the wearables, smartwatches, chest straps, but we want to really hone in on giving people the opportunity to get proper data based on their physiology that they can use to use the data to build a program around, to increase the data that we get, to increase the results, and to obviously help them in whatever it is they're wanting to achieve, whether it be a triathlon or high rocks or anything like that. You can sort of really know where you're at. As it's people say the VO2 max test is like the gold standard of like metabolic testing to test like your cardiorespiratory system. So it's like people want to get that checked, and obviously it's a good indicator of potentially how long people are going to live. So people want to know it. So we thought, why not bring it as part of Peak? And we were lucky enough to have a really good start when we launched Peak. So we invested in this, and yeah, it's been really good. We had our first day last week, first testing day at the transformation unit. It was really good, and yeah, the response has been wild. So I'm really happy with it. So get booked in if you want to get booked in, everyone. It'll be
That's awesome. Yeah, and I imagine it's pretty minging doing pushing yourself into VO2 max test, is it not?
Yeah, well, I did one years ago, and I haven't actually tested it out myself on the new equipment, but Luke has.
Right.
And yeah, you go in the hurt locker like because we're really pushing you to that max, really pushing you to maximum exhaustion.
So yeah, that's my next question. So is there a certain amount of time you need to do it, or is it literally just until you get to that
so
complete exhaustion?
we'll obviously monitor your heart rate as well. We're monitoring your heart rate, but we do for like on a treadmill, we'll do like a ramp test. We'll have like a 5-minute warm up, and we'll go, for example, set the treadmill at 2-degree incline, and then we'll do like a kilometre increase every 2 minutes, and we'll try and get as far up as we can at that ramp until you physically cannot go anymore. And we feel like you're going to slip off a treadmill or you're going to fall off the back. Do you know what I mean? When you
And it's the idea to like keep the like the running speed cadence, whatever, the same as you in line.
Yeah, so we keep the incline at 2 degree for the whole test, and then we just up the kilometre speed every 1 kilometre every 2 minutes.
Right.
Just a simple ramp test. And then if you were to do it on a bike or a watt bike, we can go off watts and see your power and see and do it that way. And when you can't sustain that pace and your heart rate's like really maxed, then that's when you've reached your VO2 max. So that's the result that you get. It's how much oxygen your body can utilize per minute per milliliter per minute per kilogram of body weight. So that's the data you're given, as well as all your personalized heart rate training zones, which is something that people really want to know based on them as an individual, so they can again properly train the zone 2, their aerobic
correct,
train anaerobically, and it all just ties in, and it's really good data to have.
How much does that tend to vary from, like, because I got a Whoop, and I don't normally use that for my zone 2 training. From what you've seen, have you seen like much difference in those different zones?
Yeah, well, I feel like everyone classes it as zone 2. I mean, we do as well in the program, because that's what some people talk about it, but you're really trying to look at your VT1 and your VT2 threshold. So your ventricular threshold 1, ventricular threshold 2. So your VT1 is your aerobic threshold. Anything below that is essentially zone 2. A good metric we use when you don't do a test is you do like 180 minus your age. And that number that comes out, so mine would be 150, and you don't let your heart rate get above 150 for argument's sake. And that's sort of a very rough, vague way to work it out. I've seen a big difference in the heart rate zones from when we've done it that your Apple Watch calculates. Again, mine comes up zone 3 on my watch when I'm actually running zone 2 per se. What people call zone 2. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
As aerobic training, I feel like they get muddled up quite a bit, but it's just the way, because people's zone 2 might be, my zone 2 might be 120 on my watch, so like 130, but I run a bit faster than that. I'll probably run 145, and then on my watch it's sure that when I'm doing a 10k, it'll show you've been in zone 3 for 45 minutes, and people that don't understand it will be like, shit, I need to go a bit slower. But essentially you don't have to, because what we're trying to work is that aerobic endurance, so we're not going over that threshold.
Yeah, I think if you like use those things as like with a pinch of salt, and Yeah, I think like I love the data, so I use them. I use it a lot. I'm always looking at my heart rate zones. I always know that it might be a little bit out, but then sometimes it's really interesting because I'm like, sometimes I cannot get anywhere near zone two, and it's like really ramped up, and then usually it's because it's like a couple of days before a comp, or I'm feeling fatigued, or something's not quite right. And I find that side of it really interesting because
Yeah,
had you not had the wearable, you probably wouldn't have noticed that. But obviously, your body's in like a bit of like stress response because it
yeah,
knows it's anticipating, or um, yeah, it's in some form of like, I don't know, fight or flight.
yeah, yeah. I get that. I feel like they are great to use, or wearables. And like I say, I use one. I've got the Apple Watch.
Mm,
Not the greatest for tracking heart rate, but as a good tool to use, I sort of use it. Um, and it's sort of somewhere near, but again, it's nowhere near as detailed as what a proper test based on
sure.
your, like, you know what I mean, physiology and breathing can give you.
Mm, nice one. Cool. So I've got this little thing that that I've done with other trainers,
Okay.
and I called it Desert Island Slip Discs. I don't suppose you've ever heard of something called Desert Island discs.
Never. No, what's that?
So Desert Island disc is a thing on. It's been going for years on Radio 4, and
Okay.
they interview people, and they go through 10. They've got to imagine they're on a desert island, and they've got to save 10 discs from the waves. So it's through like a music
Okay.
lens, like which tracks would you save? However, mine's slightly different. So it's if you're on a desert island, which 5 exercises would you keep in order to give you the most functional strength, and guarding against something like a back injury?
A back injury.
Well, it's only because I call it slip discs, but yeah, it's literally just functional strength.
So any 5 exercises, yeah, don't have to.
5 exercises for core strength, just to like if you're going to live the longest on that desert island, there's no chicks there, so you're not doing bicep curls with a fucking palm tree log. Nah.
Right. Okay. So I mean, I can use weights though. If say there's weights there, yeah, or just body weight.
Yeah, no, I'll give you weights. I tell you what,
Okay.
I'll give you a couple of kettlebells.
Perfect. Right. So, or you could find like a big log that looks like a kettlebell.
Yeah.
So these aren't in order.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely loaded carries, 100%.
Loaded what? Sorry.
Loaded carries, farmers
Yep.
carries,
Yep.
Zercher carries, front rack carries with the kettlebells,
Yep.
100%. So good for your core. The entire, like, the time under tension really does help build like a lot of back strength in your back, your grip
Mm-hmm.
strength, everything. I program carries all the time, and I probably do them at the end of every workout if I've got the time and space to do them. So yeah, number one, loaded carries. Number two would be probably I'd do a squat variation. So yeah, I'd be doing goblet squats.
Uh-huh.
Um,
So goblet squat,
Goblet squats. Yeah,
and I suppose see that like that front position, that rack, or like holding it in front of you. There's something about it. It's almost like it's like compromise because it's like feels like someone's hugging onto your lungs.
yeah. Again, it's all your rib cage is all rolled in, and I use a lot of front stuff because I do not have the shoulder mobility to do any back squats or out. So a lot of my squatting is front. Well, all of it's front loaded really, unless you use a safety bar.
Mm.
Um. So yeah, goblet squats definitely. Then I would probably say I'd have if I was on a desert island, then in case that something fell on me, I'd do kettlebell floor presses.
Kettlebell
Press.
floor press. Floor press.
Press. Yeah. And then
So would that be a bit like a bottoms up?
no, just literally rack press.
Oh yeah.
Elbows in. Probably glute bridge floor press. I'd do with them. And then for just because these are my favourite exercise, bar none. I do a gorilla row with kettlebells or lump of wood, whatever it would be.
Yeah.
So alternating kettlebell row from a hinge position. And then top ones, this is definitely number one, the kettlebell swing. Without a doubt, number one. I do kettlebell swings for the rest of my life, 100%. Yeah, I'd be quite happy just with swings, to be honest, but I like swings just because you can train them with max intent, max power. You can slow them down. You can really, it's a full body movement, really. I think it's great for your core, back, legs. Yeah, so it's kettlebell number one. I think that's everything, isn't it? That's fine.
Yeah. So we've got loaded carries, we've got goblet squat, we've got glute bridge, kettlebell floor press, gorilla row, kettlebell swing.
Yeah. You could make a little complex up with them as well. So if someone has, but I could see if that many exercises. Think how many different workouts I could create with that.
Yeah.
I think that's a good choice.
And on your carries, do you just like go slow with them, or do you like mix it up? Like some weeks do, run a bit faster with them. Some weeks like go slow. I suppose that's the beauty, you can do.
Yeah, it depends on what session I'm training. So if I'm doing like an upper body strength hypertrophy session, I'll go as slow as possible, really tight posture. But if I'm doing like an AMRAP or high rock session, I'll run as fast as I can with them. I do like the idea of running my weight though. I think I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good skill that we probably don't do enough of. That probably people before us ran with a lot more weight than that for days on end. So I do.
Hey, I'm pretty good at the farmers carries.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I come 11th at Manchester overall in the farmers carries.
What was that? 24s or 32s? Did you do pro? Or?
That was 24s. I did pro at Glasgow, but yeah, I'd been training pro, which helped.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, trust me to be the best at the one thing, which is like you get the least benefit from. You're like, it's not that long, anyways. But yeah, fuck it, I'll take that.
Sprint with it, weren't you? Yeah,
I'll take that
again. I feel like any carry is just like it's great for you, especially like grip strength and that as well. That people don't really think about.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's like a metric as well, isn't it? When you're holding it,
yeah,
you're not. But yeah, and then I like when you're slowing them down as well. I feel like when I started doing them, I did put a lot when I was trying to build a little bit of muscle. They definitely helped in that side of things. You're really just slowing everything down and posture. I feel like they're great. But yeah, I'm doing high rocks in. When am I doing it? October in Madrid. So
nice.
I'm hoping that the amount of kettlebell carries that I've done over the years will help me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm sure. Oh, that's awesome. Are you doing solo or?
No, we're doing doubles. Just for the first, we're just going. There's like 4 of us going, and then my missus and her sister are going. They're doing their doubles as well. So just to sort of ease into it. But I've been enjoying training to the double. It's been good, really good fun. I've done a few simulators and like run throughs of the full thing, and I've proper enjoyed it. I do. I think I know why everyone buzzes off high rocks. Like I feel like the format's good.
Yeah, it's cool, mate. What here's a question for you. It's just coming in my head. So when you're doing sled push, have you noticed there's a bit of a trend to like the way you push it? So rather than like
Pushing it like that, having your arms down, wrapped around the back.
Exactly, yeah. So it's obviously less load, less on your shoulders, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, I know that's because I've tested it. It's definitely a more efficient way to push the sled. But from a functional fitness perspective, do you think you're losing something by pushing it that way rather than in a more traditional sort of holding onto it at the top and using your shoulders as well?
In terms of like an everyday sense, yes, because if something, I'm just thinking, if something falls on top of me,
Mm.
if I've got to move something, I'm going to use my hands out.
Yeah.
Not everything you can grip and use your forearm as like a lever.
Yeah.
So 100%, I feel like as a functional side, definitely it's more beneficial to really drive with your arms because that's how you would push anything normally, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just a bit of a hack, isn't it? So I was thinking, because I'm like off season at the moment, I might start switching it up with different sled pushes, just sort of changing the way I'm holding it.
It can't harm, can it? Yeah.
No, yeah, just to, getting those little tweaks and yeah, making sure, because I've been so specific on high rocks for such a long time, I'm trying to like round myself out again.
Yeah, it's good because what you're doing it, you try to move that sled as quickly as possible.
Mm.
You're not trying you're doing it just to move it as quickly as possible for that race.
Mm.
Whereas when you strip it, what Irox is back and you strip all the exercises down to what they actually made for when being bundled in the race, then you start thinking what that exercise is designed to target and improve.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that is more of a functional grip in terms of what you would be able to use it for. Like if I'm pushing a car, I'm not going to push a car like that, am I? I'm not push it like that. So yeah, I totally get your point on that. I'm with you on that one.
Do you know, just after I'd started training high rocks, I think I was, fair bit into my plans. I was getting pretty good at the sled push and stuff, and I had a situation where a car broke down and I had to push it, and it was like, fucking yes, my time has arrived. I was like,
No.
it was mad. It was like, oh yeah, it's the sled push. And yeah, it was buzzing. Yeah. So yeah, that would lapse quite nicely onto real life.
Yeah, definitely. It is good because I feel like that's why functional fitness, if that's the term everyone wants to use at the minute and what's functional and what's not, is I know sometimes like machines do get a bit of a bashing that they're not functional because they could be functional in other ways, whether you try to build, do you know what I mean? You try to build more muscle, so you're a lot more resistant to injury and all this sort of stuff. But training all the time, sat down in a chair, do you understand what I mean? With pad to push off.
Yeah.
There's a lot more times in life that you're going to be on your feet. You need to be strong. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like that's why more
100%.
people go in it because you can see it. It relates more to like everyday life outside the gym.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, like you say, machines get a bit of a bashing, don't they? But it just seems to make sense to be doing free weights.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Whether that's the best thing if if you're doing bodybuilding, then that's a different conversation. But
Yeah. When you're targeting, it just depends all on the outcome of what you're trying to achieve, doesn't it?
yeah, I had like this realization. I think it was last night actually, and I was, because I've been off season, I've been a bit of a funk with myself because I'm like, oh, I've lost loads of muscle. I'm rubbish. I'm so weak. Blah 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 blah. All this like inner voice, and then I just sort of had this like realization. Where I'm like, oh, hang on a minute. To be a good athlete, and like you wanting to train all those little tweaks, like all those little core elements and to be able to hit all them areas, like you're probably not going to see that much hypertrophy, are you? Because
No.
there's no way you can hit them that many times.
No.
So,
and obviously, your Hyrox isn't set up. Your program is not set up for that, is it?
no.
In the off season, you're probably not thinking. Do you know what I mean? And it's something I avoided for years, like the sort of hypertrophy what people call bodybuilding
Mm.
exercises, which essentially they are because you try to build muscle.
Mm.
I avoided them for years thinking, oh, it's not applicable to what I'm doing, but like you just said, it makes you a better, well-rounded athlete or resistant to injury. I think it definitely has its place in most programs, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think you can be sensible with like I've been thinking. So I'm basically trying at the moment to do like a pure strength period, and like totally get rid of my ego, like just focus on like getting heavy 3 to 5 reps, all that sort of thing, and then I can have a little hypertrophy phase, maybe an 8 week one or something, but like just mixing it up and also not forgetting to do all like the core stuff and the functional.
Yeah.
Like last
I
night.
like doing sometimes. Why don't you pair it together though? Put a little pump session on at the end of your strength workouts. Just 15, 20 minutes.
What you mean, just like a low rest, like finisher?
Yeah, just target an exercise per muscle group and just go to failure on them. Minimal rest, 30 seconds rest if that between sets, high reps, 12, 15, and just blast it.
And what 3 to 4 sets?
I'd say 3 to 4 sets. Yeah, 3 sets of 12, you're probably looking to be all right if you're doing one set, or maybe go to 4 if you've got time. Don't want to put too much time on your end of your strength work, but definitely think it'd be beneficial, or designate one day as like a pump day, if you will, or
Yeah,
hypertrophy day, as like at the end of like on a Friday,
yeah,
like an accessory day if you've got a big run on a Saturday. That's how we do peak at the minute. We have
right.
an accessory day on a Friday, and it's just good to get that. Do you know what I mean? Some people love it. Well, I do now. I've started doing it more. I really enjoy it. It's a bit of a break from all the other stuff.
Yeah, I think yeah, and it's like the feeling, yeah, like you say, it's that pump, isn't it? The feeling you get off,
Yeah.
just smashing that in at the end, and that's always kind of like I kind of used to do that, but sometimes I feel like I end up spending too much time on one exercise, so I'm kind of, but yeah, it's no, it's an interesting,
I feel like as
yeah,
well if you do it,
interesting idea.
if you do, say you do, how many strength sessions do you do a week at the minute?
Bad time. I'm aiming to do 3 to 4, probably.
Just say 3 days, right?
Yeah.
Three sessions. Put in a full body hypertrophy, or even if you just do upper one day, lower the other day, you will probably want 2 upper bodies a week. Or maybe you can do it full body in the session depending on the time, and then just hit one body part for 3 sets of 12 reps, but really choose a way it's going to be challenging, but that you can still get through all the reps. 30 seconds rest. Do that 3 times a week. You're still getting enough volume as if you were doing every body part once a week. Do you understand what I mean?
Right. So what you're saying is, so do all the regular strength stuff and then smash a lot of hypertrophy shoulders one week, and then switch up to chest.
No. Do it. Do one exercise per body part at the end of each session.
Oh, okay.
One chest exercise, one shoulder exercise, one back exercise, and then one either a hinge or a squat, or you can change up day by day for that. That's what I would do. And even if it takes half an hour, just blast through it pretty quick. Again, hypertrophy, minimal rest. That way as well, say if you did a hypertrophy block and you're doing, say you do a legs hypertrophy session on a Wednesday, you're going to be absolutely spent walking around the house, do anywhere on a Thursday, Friday. But if you do it like that, as like a full body session, you're still getting the similar amount of volume in per week.
Yeah.
But you're doing it over separate days, so you're not actually nailing that muscle group on one day. All on one day.
Yeah.
That's how I do my training at the minute. I don't do muscle groups and
You do total body.
I stay away from it. Yeah. Just probably 2 exercises per muscle group. Go as hard as I can, go to failure, and then do it again. I have a day off, and then I'll do it again. I'll do my strength work or my S&C or whatever in the next day, and then go back. Or I'll structure it on the end of a strength workout, or just play around with it, see what works well for me. But it gives me a mix up in training as well, and I can think, right, I've got a little pump finisher at the end of the year, or I like to mix it up. But it's not a bad way to do it, I don't think. So maybe try giving something like that a try.
Yeah, no, that's cool. No, I appreciate that. It's I need to My focus is there. So basically, March has been like all podcast. So
Okay.
I did Glasgow Pro, and then it was like, right, I really need to like hammer the podcast stuff. But yeah, it's just keeping my hand in when I'm not like on plan and
Yeah,
making sure I'm
that's
keeping
it.
up with stuff.
Quite hard, isn't it, though? But
Yeah, you're keeping that focus. But
yeah,
just being okay with it, like being like, I know that my training's going to go a little bit downhill, and that's fine because I've planned it. But interesting, like I did a little. I've got like this little, so I've got a wall ball at home. It's like a 12 kilo, and I was doing it when I was trying to get myself ready for pro, and just in the morning, because I don't at the moment. I've not been training in the morning, but training in the evening. But in the morning, just to like get the blood pumping, I've been doing basically like 100 wall balls,
yeah,
in I can't remember. I think it works out as like 8, 9 minutes, something like that. But the idea is I've got this timer and I reduce the rest, then I add some reps, reduce the rest, and
yeah,
I'd sort of increased it over time. And this morning oh, like I really wanted to, because I had a podcast earlier on. I wanted to just get my blood going a
yeah.
bit. So I was like, right, fuck it, I'll have a go at that. And I hadn't touched it for like, what, like 5 weeks or something. And I was like, I'm not going to be able to do it, but I'll try it with what I was doing just before Glasgow, and I did it. And I was like, oh
Did you?
yeah, and I was like, fucking hell,
Don't lose as much as you think, do you?
yeah. And I was like, right, it's there. Like, um, so it's interesting. I think it's good to have those little conditioning drills, like have them lit, like just remember what you did, isn't it?
Yeah,
Just to test yourself every now and then. So if you are feeling a bit like shit, so many times it's all in your head, isn't it?
yeah, definitely. You've done it before. You've done it once. You can do it again. Your body will let you do it again. You've got to push through it. You might not do it as quick. You might not do it as efficient. You might be a bit off, but you get it done.
Yeah.
And you'll be surprised how well, even if you have still been training, you would have lost a great deal if you've still been in the gym. Even if it's quite sporadic and it's quite a lot less volume, you'll still keep quite a lot of what you built.
Yeah, I think what really hit me though was after Glasgow, I got really ill. So I got like a really bad man flu, and then ended up with like yeah, like a really bad gastro flu. So
Yeah.
so like I was wiped out for 2 weeks. So I couldn't have had a worse start to the off season in terms of like losing a lot of mass.
Training you were doing.
What's that, mate?
Yeah. I bet I'd be surprised if it wasn't to do with like how much you were
Oh,
training.
100%.
I mean, really pushing your body that much, and then you get somewhere and you're just going to be wiped out.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Like I hadn't been ill for a very long time. And yeah, obviously I just pushed myself, and I was a bit stupid really, but to be honest, I couldn't really afford to stay over and stuff. It was in Glasgow, and I convinced Tom Goddard to come with me. So
We lit on there, yeah.
yeah, so we literally drove up on the day. I drove, performed at like 9 o'clock at night, then drove all the way home. So I got home at like 4 o'clock in the morning, then couldn't sleep. Following day was my birthday, and then it was like going out for meals and stuff, and then like yeah, Monday rolls around, I'm like ill as fuck.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah.
Totally hit you like a brick wall in there.
Yeah. Tell me about the Peak Performance podcast.
Yeah, so again, peak. I've started doing podcasts. God, I did a few, dipping toe in doing like an MMA one with a couple of mates again, just something to do. And then when we launched Peak, I was like, right, I've got a good idea here that I just want to get local people on from the area and just talk about whatever, everything in terms of fitness, mindset. So we did the first, how many have I done now? I've done two now. Matty Green and got Liam Conroy coming on next week, and I just did that one on my own. But
Nice.
yeah, I loved it, mate. I love doing it. I love to have lovely conversations, so it's been nice to be on the other side of the mic there. But yeah, I'm just like, I'm hoping it, whatever it turns into, it turns into. If it's just something to selfishly for me to have a sit down and a crack with people, then so be it. We have been enjoying it. I'm just trying to get more people on it and just pick the guests that I want to speak to selfishly again.
Yeah.
And then hopefully other people enjoy it. Mainly to just inspire people to just do something and just give people sort of access to some information from people in the area that have been there and done it.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it's such a positive like pursuit, I think, you know, um, just having conversations and publishing them for the world to listen to and whatever. And sometimes I think to myself, I'm like, does anyone really want to listen to me like rabbiting on? But
They do. People will.
yeah, like I've gotten so much out of being a consumer of podcasts over the last few years. Um, yeah, it was just a natural thing for me to want to start doing it.
Start doing. You're smashing it, mate. Good effort.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So like, what's next? I know like you've got a lot going on at the moment. Where do you see sort of the next 12 months or so panning out for you?
Question. So, my personal goals. I haven't really told many people this, but I'm looking to fight probably the end of the year. Kickboxing or boxing it'll be, and then maybe progress to MMA next year. See how we go.
Nice.
In terms of business, so I'm still working offshore. I'm currently on a vessel. Finished my shift earlier. I'm still away doing that, but I'm hoping the end goal is to just jack this in and do Peak and Cumbria Combat Sports full time. I don't think it'll be 12 months, but the next 12 months will be definitely be spent building the brands. The ideas I've got for Peak, Christ, I've got all sorts in round in my head going on there what I do, and I'll do them. I'll definitely do them. Don't think it'll be in 12 months, but what I would like to do in 12 months, in the next 12 months, is grow Peak to where we're the best strength and conditioning functional fitness program in the area for sure in Cumbria, and then go out and sort of build a good community and build a good group of people that are on the same sort of path and mission as us. And yeah, just keep developing, host more classes at Transformation Unit. Just impact as many people as we can, and then get more of a hands-on role coaching the classes and more Peak members. And in regards to CCS, probably get the app fight team as active as they can. Got a couple of beginners courses run in the next couple of months, so that'll be good for people to start out if they want to try that. We've got one starting in May, and then yeah, just keep plodding along, mate. I've since I left my full-time job at Orsted, April/May of 2000 of last year, I've just took a few big risks and they've all paid off. And I feel like now there's like a lot of traction coming for the stuff that we're doing. And I'm just going to keep running for it, mate. I've got all sorts I want to do and don't want to stop now. It's giving me a bit of a kick up the ass to, at 30, be like, right, how do I want the rest of my life to look like? And
yeah,
it's definitely just being involved with fitness and martial arts for the rest of my life. And that's what I want to do. So in the next 12 months are going to be massive and pivotal as to where this business and brand goes next. But I've got options to do all sorts, and I feel like the ideas me and Luke have got, there's going to be some good stuff coming, I think.
yeah, that's so cool, man. Like this is, I love the sort of like the fitness industry and that or fitness community, and because like everyone's just like fucking getting after it.
Yeah, it's cool to see, especially in our area. It's buzzing.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. And you find that quite often the people who are also into fitness are also interested in business and self-improvement and stuff like that. So there is like a nice little ecosystem, to like for an area which can be fucking depressing at times. So it's nice.
I totally get it. Yeah,
It's nice. It's nice to have some.
it's people. Sorry, Karen.
Have you got do you have a family or out or?
No, so I've got a girlfriend.
Yeah.
But I've not got no kids yet. I've got a good family around me, but nothing like no dependents yet. Which is why I'm sort of being as selfish as I can at the minute, and I mean that in a nice possible.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
I'm just hell bent on what I want to do, and I've sort of always been like that.
Yeah, that's like I've been like single for like coming up 3 years now, and at times it can get a bit like, oh, fucking hell, I should really I could do with meeting someone, or if I get like a little low point, I might start feeling a bit fucking lonely in that. But then it doesn't last long, because then I'm like, hold on a minute, like life's really fucking good. Like I've got all these things that I'm on with, and like, yeah, I'm in no fucking rush.
Lost you there, mate. Sorry.
No, you're all right. I was yeah, I was just saying, like, you just got to make the most of it, you know. Not having kids and stuff, because it'll come at some point. And
100%.
yeah, until then, it's just such a cool time to, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, everything's like depressing, and there's a lot of shit going on in the world and that, but I don't focus on that. And it's like AI is a great example of this. I don't know if you use much AI or anything like that, but
A few bits, yeah.
yeah, it's a great example of like how you can view the world. Like, do you look at it as through fear? Like, oh, AI is going to take over, it's going to do this. Or do you look at it and go, AI is fucking amazing. Like, this could really help people. This could really help me have a better life.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think it's important, like, as to your disposition, how you view your circumstances, as to how the rest of your life's going to pan out.
Like you touched on there, though, with like people where we from being depressed and everything's doom and gloom. It's what's going on around the world. And if you don't, all that stuff's going to happen anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Barra's going to be depressing for as long as we all say it's depressing. It's not going to change until people stop getting out the mind frame of it being depressing and do something to try and change it for the better. Like, we can't affect, obviously, there's loads of shit going on in the world. We can't have an impact on that, unfortunately. Yep. But if we did, it'd be a better place. But I used to get hung up on stuff like that all the time, and it'd bother me. And I used to say I hated my job, and like, I was depressed. Not depressed, I've never been depressed, but I was down, yep. And I hated what I was doing. And it wasn't until I took a risk and just thought, you know what, fuck this. Like you touched on there about being scared, like fear, being fearful of something. I was fearful of growing old, doing a job that I hated, and being miserable for the rest of my life. And I would be saying Barrow's depressed. So that's why I was like, right, what's given me the most fulfillment since I've left school? It was training martial arts, got mad into the gym, got mad into looking after myself, changed my life tenfold.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, I'm going to try and build something positive for Barrow, for people, and they might start thinking the same. And it's not until they start doing something like that, the whole life changes. Like you say, like you saying then about being single, you don't need to rely on someone else if you're doing what's right to make you happy. Yeah. Just know what I mean?
Yeah.
That stuff will come. It's like a construct that people make up that you've got to have all this together, and definitely not. But you give people the tools to like make their life better, then the other avenues of life get better. They might be more productive in the job. They might fucking leave the job like I did to chase and figure out what they want to do. The amount of people that get into fitness and end up working in fitness is, Christ, the conversion rate must be massive.
Yeah.
Because, do you know what I mean? It must be huge. Because it's all everyone wants to do is like they realise how good it makes them feel. And like you say, the ecosystem we've got in Barrow now, there's loads of people smashing it. Mm-hmm. So there's people in Barrow haven't got any option now to say, oh, there's fuck all you to do. There's loads you to do. Just how much do you want to do it?
Yeah.
There's the people that say there's now what you to do, aren't the ones that are going to come and train with you or go and make use of some of the ones that are just going to, unfortunately, carry on saying it's shit and miserable. I was one of them. Mm. I was that guy. It's fucking shit here. I want to move away. Yeah. They really actually appreciated what we've got here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, man. So where would you like to point people in terms of your website, social media, all that sort of stuff?
Yes, so people can get the Peak Instagram and at Powered by Peak. That's our main source of advertising, updating content. We're offering the Peak program. We're offering offshore workers program now, VO2 max testing, one-to-one training, one-to-one programming, all that good stuff. And then we've got Cumbria Combat Sports as well, which is at Cumbria Combat Sports on Instagram. We've got a beginners course starting in May if anyone wants to get involved in that. That's based out of Transformation Unit, a quality gym if you want to check it out. So shout out those guys, they've been a big help to us. And just on my own personal social media, so at Ryan Thomas 27, and that is just mainly a coaching account now that I've sort of started. So it's probably going to have some good stuff going on there. So yeah, and again, anyone wants any info of the stuff we've talked about, or just give us a shout, and hopefully we'll point you in the right direction and be able to help you out.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'll link all that up in the show notes as per.
Appreciate that, mate. Thank you.
All right, Ryan. Have a good day.
I will,
Yeah.
mate. Take care, and yeah, anyone who listens to this, go check out Jason's other episodes as well.
Thank you, mate.
So well done. No worries, mate. Keep
All right.
pushing it. Thank you for that.
See you later.
Bye,
Bye.
mate. Speak to you soon. Bye bye.